Hello and welcome to the training entitled How to Develop a Presentation. Now, on the Movement Ambassador website, you will find some resources available to you for developing a presentation. For example, we have the Join the Movement Suggested Presentation Outline. Now, this is just a suggested outline. You can certainly shape this however you'd like. If you have a lot of experience with public speaking, you're probably more comfortable with doing this. However, if you don't have a lot of experience public speaking, this is a really good start for how to develop a presentation and how to speak to a group. First of all, I want you to introduce yourself. Say who you are, how you're an ambassador for the MS Society, how you're involved in however many ways that you are, whether it's through volunteering, through events, through programs, and other ways. And say that you are a person living with MS or affected by MS in some way. At that point, you can either play the manifesto video that we have on DVD, because that gives a really good outline and example of who the MS Society is in a really colorful and authentic way. However, if there is not a DVD player, this is not a problem. There are key messages about MS and about the MS Society that you can touch on at this point. And you can say a little bit about what MS is, who it affects, how it affects them, and what is being done as far as research and treatments and fundraising to help move us closer to a cure. And then you can kind of segue into your story. And there'll be a whole other training session on how to tell your story in an effective way. But at this point, I encourage you to tell your story about living with MS. Tell your story about how it has changed you or how it has moved you in some way. And make it relatable, because the group is going to remember you and they're going to remember this story and they're going to think of you when they think of the MS Society. So if you can find a way to make your story really relatable and memorable, this is fantastic. And of course there will be another training on telling your story. So after you share your story, make a segue into how the MS Society has helped you, and then talk about how else the MS Society helps other people, who the MS Society serves, what kind of programs we offer, what kind of events and other services that we provide. And you can talk a little bit, again, and this is all in the presentation, there are talking points about ways to join the movement, ways for people to get involved. And because I've noticed that a lot of times when I hear other people speak and tell their story, I am so moved and so inspired that I want to know how I can help. And so after your presentation, after your story, after you have given them all the different ways that the MS Society helps people, you can say, well, here are some ways that you can help us in this movement closer to a world free of MS. So you can talk about volunteering, the different events that are going on, advocacy efforts at the Capitol and beyond, donations, other ways. There's all kinds of ways, and they're all outlined here. So after you've given all of this, you need to find some way to close this in a memorable way. You should always tie everything back to how the MS Society helps you, helps other people, and how other people can get involved. So you should also take questions from the audience. There should always be about 10 minutes for questions and answers, if you can kind of find a way to shape that into your presentation. And like I said, you're not going to know the answers to all the questions, and that's okay. And you shouldn't guess, but you should point them in the right direction. So whether that's giving their contact information to the MS Society, or it's giving them some piece of literature with our website or our phone number on it. You should thank them for their time at the end of your presentation, and then also direct them to the Minnesota chapter for any additional questions. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to practice your presentation. And it might seem strange at first, particularly if you're practicing to a wall or to your dog or your cat, but it's really important to hear the words out loud, hear your story out loud, and really make it your own. And if you also want to practice in front of people, that is a perfect way of practicing as well. So those are just a few tips for how to prepare your presentation. And please watch the training session on how to tell your story, because this will really help you to make a memorable and engaging story.